Welcome to Wellbeing Conversations with me. I'm Ayesha, and today we're diving into the world of Tibetan singing bowls, of frequency and vibration, and how sound can shift the nervous system and the energy body. So, this episode is also followed by a meditation. It's a separate meditation that accompanies our talk today. So, hopefully, at the end, you're going to be able to enjoy a beautiful sound healing meditation. So let's get started. And I know that sound healing is becoming more and more popular in recent times. And I think because people are feeling the effects of these beautiful sound frequencies and remembering that feeling of safety and that feeling of calming the nervous system. So I suppose we'll start today with how I became introduced to sound healing. And, if you've listened to any of my talks, you know that I've come from a more scientific medical background. And in my life, I was introduced, I was a registered nurse. So I was introduced to energy healing and crystals and things like this by, I like to say, my team, which is my non-physical team. I understand that now. I was guided to it gently because I was very skeptical and very scientific, and I wanted to know why this happened and why I had this experience and that experience. So if you've listened to my other talks, you know what I'm talking about. And then during my journey of energy healing and working with crystals and doing Reiki and all of this, I got to the point where I was obviously doing a lot of work on myself, a lot of healing, but also doing healing on others. And this was years ago. I met this most beautiful girl. She was so lovely. And she was practicing sound healing, and she had just got back from Nepal, and she had a teacher there that was teaching her the traditional form of sound healing. And until that point, I had never experienced any of it. And so we did a healing exchange in which I did a healing for her, and then on another day she did a sound healing for me. And oh my goodness, I don't have any words. I think for me, I was like a kid in an energetic candy store. So I perceive energy in a very particular way, and we all have our own unique way of how we work with our own body, of how, especially when we do healing work and things like that, we each have our unique way of how we connect with energy and how we understand it. And so for me, when I had the sound healing, oh my goodness, I was laying on this, where was I? I was laying on, yes, on a healing bed in a yurt. And the sound just started moving through my body. I had never felt anything like it. It's like my energy of my body just became alive. And I was perceiving and seeing all of these things. And the only way I can describe it for me is when I play sound, and when there's a field that has been created, this energetic field, it allows me to have access to so much more. Or it allows me to see a lot more clearer through the veil. Maybe that's how I can describe it. And I could feel the sound move all through my body, and it felt like it was just expanding my whole energy field. Now, at that point, I had experienced a lot of different things. I've had many mystical experiences myself personally, but also I had done a lot of healing work at that point, and so I've had quite deep understanding of our energy body and this reality and things like this. So experiencing something like this just blew me away. It was like, whoa. And I remember after the session that day, I did not want to come out of it. It just felt so wonderful. I didn't want it to end. And I think it was for me, it was this inner remembering. It felt like coming home. It's it's so difficult to explain, but it was definitely one of those significant points in my life. And I remember talking to her afterwards, and she said, well, maybe one day you'll be able to come to Nepal and learn from my teacher. And the thought of that just, I was so excited by that. And I thought, yeah, when the time was right, because it just wasn't right timing then. And it just so happened, and this is how amazing the universe is, when there's something that you're meant to be doing, there's, I think, certain things in our life is almost like fate. It's like we're meant to experience certain things in our life. And I think it's something that we, before coming into this reality, we sort of create specific experiences for ourselves that need to happen at certain times, so it so happened that at some stage her teacher came to Australia for a while then, and he agreed to teach me. And so it was such a I'm so grateful for the experience, because it allowed me to go so much deeper with who I really am, and it provided the tools that I needed for further development, I suppose, for further spiritual development. And I remember when I met him and when he started teaching me, he'd just give me one bowl at a time, because I've got I've got more than 7 bowls now, but and I use different sounds as well. But to start off with, we worked on the main energy centers of the body. So he'd start with giving me the first bowl, which was for Muladhara, or Muladhara, a lot of people call, which is the lowest energy center. And I remember getting it, and it was such a journey just connecting with that bowl and playing that bowl. And I remember sometimes I'd play it and then fall asleep with it, and it was like my little baby. And initially I didn't find it so easy to play the bowl, and it wasn't playing quite right for me. It was a whole journey, and I had so many different emotions come up. And then as I started playing it more and more, I just couldn't stop playing it. And it was this deep connection with the sound of that bowl. And I remember, and there were so many teachings that he would give me, and he talked a lot about there's a sound that you hear and there's a sound that you don't hear. And I started really feeling that sound that you don't hear. And it was just such a, let's say, life-changing and expansive experience to go through each bowl and learn about each of the main energy centers as I'm learning and connecting with each bowl. It was a beautiful learning experience, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And I did a lot of deep healing on myself during that time as well. And I also, it's really interesting too, when we move through life and we discover things about ourselves, like when I started, learning about crystals and connecting with crystals and doing energy healing and things like this. Years before that, I would have never imagined that I'd do something like that. It's almost like you never know when you really allow yourself to discover more about who you are. It leads you down pathways that you never really expected. And I found that this was yet another thing, learning about sound in this way was so transformative for me. And then I could bring in all of the previous experience and skills that I had. So I have a very unique way of working with the crystals and the crystal kingdom, and I've had a lot of teaching from the crystals themselves, or the crystal kingdom, however you want to put it. And I create these tools with crystals. They're sacred tools, and I do that in ceremony. So during ceremony, I'll create these tools. And I then knew that I had to do that for each of my bowls. And my teacher also guided me into understanding that we we have certain experiences and we learn certain things and we have certain skills for specific purposes, and if we just follow our guidance, it would lead us where we need to go. So I remember for each of my bowls, I would do ceremony, and I created specific tools to go into each of my bowls because I had a deep understanding of what each of the bowls meant for that energy center. And so when I did ceremony, I had the specific crystals placed within the tools, if you've seen any images of my bowls, you will see that I have these crystal tools within them, and I've always used them that way. And so these tools have been in the bowls used, oh gosh, for so many healings and so many ceremonies and so many events. And so it has the energy of that within the crystals. And I've been creating these sacred tools for many, many years for many different things. And I find that when you create them, obviously the intention that you create them with is very important. They're extremely powerful, and they create such important shifts within your reality, but you've got to do it in a very conscious and a very intentional and a very loving way. And after a while, these crystal tools, they take on, let's say, a personality of their own, because it's the combination of the different type of crystals and the consciousness within which they came together. Obviously, I do it with permission from the crystals themselves. But so through the years, as I've played these bowls with the tools within them, I feel like they create very specific frequencies. And so when you're listening to the meditations that I've put together, or even when you come to any of my events, or even if you have a sound healing session with me, that sound is doing so much more because of the frequency of not only the bowls themselves and the metals that they were made with, and the intention of pure love and healing for the highest good for every person that listens to it, but also the energy and the frequency of the tools themselves within the bowls and the crystals coming together for the purpose of expansion and transformation. These sounds emit a very specific vibrational frequency. So I truly believe that sound creates a moment of remembering. It's like the body recognizes something very ancient and something very safe. And this is why the body can let down. And I know the mini meditations that I do within this podcast, it was a guided idea that came through, and I just did it for fun. And I didn't expect that so many people would be listening to it and finding so many benefits. And I totally love and enjoy doing it, and I use it all the time. Sometimes I have quite a busy life with the work that I do, that I need those times during my day where I just stop and I can just listen to some of my meditations, and they absolutely work. And I tell people about this. I know I did it, and sort of tooting my own horn, but it's not really. It's about the sound and the frequency. It works. It works. It shifts your vibration so that no matter which state you're in, you can choose a meditation, play it, and you will feel your whole frequency shift. And so I think it's important to look at the history of sound in our world, right? And ancient cultures use sound for many different things: for healing, for ceremony, for spiritual awakening, for also nervous system regulation, and also for bonding in community, where community will get together, and sound is definitely a big part of the bonding process. And just some of the traditions, I suppose, in our history that were known for sound is the Himalayan traditions. So, like the singing bowls and mantras are also very important for the Himalayan traditions. And in ancient Egypt as well, in the temples, they also had resonance chambers as well. And sound was very important. Indigenous cultures also use drumming and chanting. Certainly in Australia, we've got the didgeridoo. And in ancient times, Greek philosophers also studied vibration and harmony. So long before modern medicine, sound was medicine. Ancient cultures, they used sound. I suppose these ancient cultures understood that the human body is not just physical, it's energetic and it's vibrational. So when the body fell out of harmony, they didn't only just use herbs or physical treatments, they used sound to restore balance. They used vibration and frequency. Because sound is known to clear that stagnant energy, right? It's known to calm the mind, calm the emotions, and restore harmony back into the body. It supports that natural healing process. I think the idea is that when the body is in harmony, it can heal itself. Sound has always been also used in ceremony. So there's so many different ceremonies throughout the world in all different cultures. And sound has always been central to like ritual and sacred ceremony. And these ceremonies could have been done for births, in deaths, seasonal transitions, initiations, healing rites. And I think it's because sound, it helps people to shift from everyday consciousness into a sacred space. Whether it's drums, chanting, bells, vocal toning, it creates a shared energetic field. And this can allow people to feel connected, to feel safe, to feel part of something. So I guess you could say that sound became the bridge between the physical and the spiritual world. And also, across many cultures, sound was seen as a pathway for higher consciousness. So, like many traditions believed, the universe began with sound, right? Everything started with sound. Vibration created matter. Sacred tones connects us to source. So, when we chanting or toning and we're using instruments, it can quiet the thinking mind. And therefore, it can open that intuitive abilities. And then you can access that deeper meditative states. And this is why it has that feeling of coming home. And I remember, I found meditation an extremely life-changing tool, right? And many years ago, I went and learned, how to be a meditation instructor or a meditation teacher. And I remember when I was learning, when I was doing the training, I was just in my element. I was so in the flow, because for me, having an excuse to be in deep meditation constantly at that time while I was learning was tremendous. It was amazing. And I remember thinking, and with everything that I do, I suppose, whether it's the physical stuff like colon hydrotherapy, nutrition, or whether it's all the other healing stuff that I do, when I have these experiences, my thing is always, oh my God, I want people to have this experience because it feels so good, and it can shift so much for them. That's always my go-to after I have experiences. Oh my gosh, I want to share this. And I remember learning about meditation and having these experiences and feeling like, oh my goodness, I wish everybody could feel this because they'll really know who they really are. And life would become so much more amazing for them. And what I found was, a lot of people over the years tell me that they find it difficult to sit and meditate, and they find that their mind is so busy, and it's not something that they feel comes really naturally for them. But what I found is with sound, the moment I start to play the sound, especially when you play sound with intention and you remain really present, you can actually feel this shift in your energy so quickly. And this is why I love accompanying the sound with the meditations, because it allows you to have that experience very quickly. And no matter if it's somebody that feels like they can't meditate, or they struggle with it or whatever, the minute they start listening to the sound, that quickly fades away. And it's really interesting to me, and this is why I love the sacred sound, because it allows you to go to that space, that deep meditative state, and it allows you to go as deep as you want to go. So it's almost like the sound assists in the shift in your vibrational frequency. And so what starts happening is that nervous system, it's almost like it talks to the energy field of the body. And then the nervous system starts to calm down. And then you feel a lot more safer. And when we feel safe, we can let down even more, and it feels almost like a coming home, because then you start remembering who you are. Isn't that amazing that that's the power of sound? So sound really, it regulates the nervous system. And I suppose, in ancient cultures, they wouldn't have used the term nervous system, right? But they understood the stress response in the body. And if you've ever been to any sort of tribal, so I'm from South Africa, and my mom's Zulu, right? And if you've ever listened to a Zulu choir singing and playing the drum, it's such an enjoyable experience. And afterwards, when you sit in the stillness, you just feel so grounded. It's almost, if you've ever had, I used to have regular sweat lodge, and in sweat lodge we do chanting and drumming and that, and afterwards you just feel so you could sit in that stillness and you feel so grounded and you feel so connected and you feel yourself again. It's that type of feeling. So in these ancient cultures, when they did these things and they understood that it relaxed the body, it calmed the body from all the stress of this world. It slows the breathing, it slows the heart rate, it reduces that anxiety, and it brings the body back into stillness. And I suppose the best part of the sound sometimes is when the sound stops and you're just sitting in that stillness and you feel so calm within that stillness. You feel like you can see yourself within the stillness. You can truly be present and feel yourself within the stillness. So I suppose, these ancient cultures, they knew that rhythm creates safety. And when we play sound, or when we have sort of like a group session, or we play sound, and even these little tribes around the world when they are singing and or chanting and drumming. Think about it. They're singing together, they're chanting together, they're drumming in the drumming circle. And these experiences, it synchronizes the breathing, it synchronizes the heart rhythms, it synchronizes the emotional states, right? And now, like in modern science, they call it co-regulation. And in ancient cultures, they knew when we sound together, we feel together. So I feel like on the planet right now, we're having a great remembrance of who we are, and also that we thrive on community, on we thrive when we can connect with others. This is who we are as human. Right? And see how sound helps us remember that we are all connected. We are all one. And these Himalayan singing bowls, they've been around for centuries and centuries. And in Himalayan traditions, sound is considered sacred and deeply healing. You know, these Tibetan singing bowls, they were used in meditation, in spiritual rituals, in monasteries, for healing practices. The monks used the chanting in the bowls to focus the mind, to go into deep meditation, to create inner stillness. And you know, when you listen to those long, sustained tones, they help move the brain into slower brain states or slower wave states, which is exactly why people drop into deep relaxation during these sound baths and the sound healing. And also when you are doing mantras, so mantras is when we're repeating certain phrases. It is also believed to carry specific vibrational qualities that affect the mind and the body. And I love doing mantras. There's many different types of mantras, but an easy way to also do it is if you are doing sort of healing work on yourself and you are guided to certain affirmations, you can actually use that as a mantra, and you could do a mantra meditation, and you could sit and repeat the affirmation and repeat it until you feel the energy of the words of that affirmation. You know, quite often during my healing sessions for my clients, their team will guide through certain affirmations for them that is very specific for that time of their life and what they need. And as it's guided to them, when they hear these affirmations at that time, it's almost like something vibrationally shifts. You can feel that shift when they say it. It's like, oh, that just really sits so deeply within me. And so using affirmations in that way can be extremely powerful because it's guided for what you need at that time specifically for you. It's not just choosing any affirmation and saying it just for the purpose of saying an affirmation, but it can be extremely powerful. And another culture in which sound was really important was Egypt. In ancient Egypt, sound and vibration were part of temple healing. Some temples were built with specific acoustic properties, echo chambers, resonance halls, and the priests then used to chant. They did vocal toning and used instruments as well. And they did this in these spaces to create powerful vibrational fields. And it's believed that people would lie in these chambers to receive healing through sound and resonance. Temples were designed as energetic healing spaces. Can you imagine how amazing that would be if you have a temple or a structure that was built specifically for sound, and it had very specific intentions with regards to sacred geometry. And in that space, you would perform sound healing as the person is laying in this sort of this temple or this chamber. It's almost like a healing chamber, I suppose. Extremely powerful when you know and you have the understanding that we are not just this physical bodies. We are energy, we are frequency. And also in indigenous cultures, they do a lot of drumming and chanting, and this across the world, whether it's Africa, whether it's Australia, the Native Americans. They use drums, rattles, chanting, songs. The drum is especially powerful because its rhythm mimics the human heartbeat. So, drumming can help ground the body and also helps regulate emotions. It can also create trance states, and therefore it can also support that healing journey. And when you're drumming, especially like in a drumming circle, that rhythm brings people into connection with the earth and with each other. One of the things I love doing when I'm doing ceremony is to play the drum, because it can really get you into those different states. And then another culture in which sound was very important was the Greeks. The Greek philosopher Pythagoras, he discovered that musical tones follow mathematical ratios. So harmony exists in numbers, and vibration governs the universe. And he believed music could restore harmony in the soul. He even used to prescribe music as medicine. And this was one of the first bridges between spirituality and science around sound. So as you can see, across continents and thousands of years, humanity discovered the same truth. Sound restores harmony, and harmony restores health. Right? There have also been others that have had an important part to play with science, basically bridging the science of sound and healing the body, was somebody called Dr. Masaru Emoto. And he was a scientist that did an experiment with water. And he did many experiments where he would perhaps say things to water or play music to water, or they would do special healing practices to water, and then he would photograph it, and it will create these very specific sacred geometry structures. It's absolutely beautiful, and you could find information on this. There's lots online on Emoto's water crystal experiments. And so the human body is largely water, right? Some places 70%, some places even more water. And so if you can imagine, he did these experiments using either words, music, intention, and healing, energetic healing, and it changed the structure of the water. So imagine what this does on the water within our body. Right? And if you can imagine, if sound can change the structure of water, imagine what it can do to the body, because the body is made mostly of water, right? And in some of these experiments, like he'd also say negative words or some negative things, and the structure would be totally different to this beautiful sacred geometry. It would be like you could obviously see that the structure is not as beautiful as, say, if he played some really beautiful music, or he said, I love you to the water, or these things. And he even encouraged the rice experiment, which many people have done. And you'd be able to find this online as well. And you can do it yourself, in which you take 2 cups of rice. So you cook up the rice, and you could even do 3 cups of rice, actually, and put them actually into 3 jars, and you'd put them in the same place. And every day you'd come to them, and on one of them you could even put a sticker and write, like on one of them, I love you, and on one of them you could say, I don't know, I hate you, or you fool, or whatever. And on the next one you just ignore it. And every day you come and you lift it up and you say that. And people have repeatedly done it and have found that the one in which you go, I hate you, or said something terrible, it became really yucky and brown and horrible. And the one that you said, I love you to, the rice basically looked the same. It's incredible to see our consciousness and what we think and what we say, and how it affects the water, and how it will affect the water within our body. And so therefore the sound also affects our nervous system. So we have 2 main nervous system states, right? So we've got like the survival state, which is the fight, flight, freeze state. And then we have the safety state, which is rest, digest, heal. So your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system. So the sound helps by slowing the brain waves, right? So the beta, alpha, theta, and it activates the vagus nerve, right? Which then starts calming the nervous system. It lowers your cortisol, creating deep relaxation and allowing an emotional release, right? And simply put, I suppose what I can say is sound really takes me out of survival and fear into a frequency of deep peace, that feeling that, all is well. In this modern world, we are so inundated with so many messages and everybody fighting for our attention with regards to, social media and our devices. We get notifications, constant stimulation, and it's like it's always on, right? And that can create chronic stress within the body. And we also feel disconnected from our body in that way, because we're just bombarded with so much information, with basically living in the modern world, right? And sound can be the medicine to start to bring things back in balance again, right? So when we think of this, I would love for you to listen to the meditation that accompanies this talk that we had today, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I find that sound is such an important part of my life. These beautiful Himalayan singing bowls that I'm sitting right in front of at the moment, I love them so much because they are so extremely healing, and it's something that has been around for thousands of years, and I'm hoping to see sound be a part of all of our lives as we start to heal and remember who we are and transform and be the best version of ourselves, and we allow sound to be that healing bridge for us. So I hope you enjoyed the meditation after this long chat. We've gone for a while. And I hope you have a beautiful day or evening. Thank you for listening. Bye.